We're still taking a break, but don't worry because we're dusting off an oldie but goodie that features our then CFO, Ollen Douglass, offering his advice for negotiating your bills. We talk a lot about cable companies, but the advice can be applied elsewhere. Time to send it over to past Alison, who is still foolishly, with a lowercase f, paying for cable. Also, why was I so mean to the vegan? On to the show. This is Motley Fool Answers. I'm Alison Southwick, and I am joined, as always, by Robert Brokamp and Dayana Yochim. But wait, there's more. We have a special guest today, and that is Ollen Douglass. He is CFO of the outrageously amazing company, The Motley Fool.
Perhaps you've heard of it.
Yeah, I was going to say, maybe you've heard of it. Ollen, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you very much for inviting me, Alison.
Ollen is here because not only is he an excellent CFO, he's also a master negotiator.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. So today you are going to help our listeners hone their negotiating skills and lower their bills by putting the screws to their cable companies and other service providers. We're also going to answer your money etiquette questions on splitting the restaurant tab. And then we're going to discover who wins the race to the bottom for the worst customer service in America. There are a few things that bind us together as human beings as our mutual hatred of our cable provider. And thanks to Consumer Reports, we now know that the worst of the worst is, and actually this is not just of cable providers, but of all companies, the worst of the worst is, do you want to guess, Dayana?
I'm going to say Comcast.
Ollen, what do you think?
I'm going with Dayana.
Yeah. Well,
Dayana's the worst
I'm the most hated provider
of podcast information.
I would like to accept this award on behalf of the people who set me up for failure here.
well, Dayana, I'm sorry, you are not the winner. It's actually Time Warner Cable.
Oh, yeah. Oh, the other one.
The other one, right? Pretty much. It's between Comcast or Time Warner Cable. Yeah, they have the worst customer service of all, which we don't actually have in Virginia, where I am. We have Comcast.
Right.
I don't know. Does most of the rest of the country have Time Warner?
No.
It's pretty.
And it explains the flag. I saw it going past Comcast this morning. It said, "We're not last."
Right. Yeah.
I didn't know what that meant.
Way
Not number one. Not number one.
Okay, let me fly. So I did a little research here and found that the best rated pay TV provider, according to the American Consumer Satisfaction Index, is AT&T Uverse.
Which I don't even know.
Has anyone even heard of it? Yeah. And here's how you get to be the best rated pay TV provider. You have a 69% satisfaction
Right.
rating.
In other words, a D plus.
Yeah.
Right.
So good for you. And yeah, it earned that by having its ratings fall less than Verizon, Fios, and DirecTV. So we're essentially talking about the worst.
The not so worst of the bottom feeders is
Yeah.
something we've never heard of before and probably not available in our area.
No, it's like it's the best house in a really bad neighborhood.
Right. The only kid in the class who's not going to be held back, but barely.
Right. Yeah.
But you still have to do summer school. Sorry. So have any of you guys tried cutting the cord at all? Because millions upon millions of people are doing it.
I keep whittling away. I keep chipping away at the cord. I got rid of most of the cable channels except for HBO, which was offered as part of a package, and I kind of want to kind of back off it even more.
Yeah, have you guys tried cutting the cord
I did.
at all?
We had Verizon Fios, and actually switched to Cox, as to prove Verizon that we really are serious, and then Verizon gave us a better deal, and so we switched back to Verizon all in the span of like 2 weeks. It did mean we have to sit at home waiting for the cable person, but it did work.
Well, I actually went the other way and went to a bundle, and now I have my phone, internet, and cable through Comcast because they offered me such a great deal.
Yeah.
Ah,
There we go.
so, and later in the show, you will find out how he got such a great deal and couldn't pass it up. Part of negotiating, as we're probably going to learn, is being able to walk away if you need to. And so if you save this for later, put it in your back pocket. If you are looking for advice on how to cut the cord, there's a few things that I think are great. TechCrunch recently did a diary of a cord cutter, which is great because it goes through some of the emotions that you might feel hurt, denial, betrayal, all that kind of stuff. And then also Gizmodo.com has a great article, How to Cut the Cord and Ditch Cable Once and for All. Again, put that in your back pocket because that might become useful when you do end up calling Comcast or Time Warner to negotiate your bill. When money gets weird or complicated, you better call Dayana. She'll fix all of your awkward money situations. And today's question comes from Audrey. She wants to know, I'm a vegan and I don't really drink a lot of alcohol. When going out to dinner, I don't think it's fair to split the bill down the middle when all I had was a salad and water and everyone else had drinks and steak. How do I avoid paying more than my share without looking stingy and cheap? First of all, Audrey, from your description of yourself, I seriously doubt that people are inviting you out to restaurants and enjoying your company. But I'm just kidding. I'm sure she's a lot of fun. The last sober vegan I met, I'm sure, was a hoot.
As she eats her lettuce and tomato, and that's it.
Nibbles on that.
So, all right, Dayana, what's your best advice for Audrey?
So this is a pretty common scenario when you go out in a group and everybody is just ordering willy-nilly, and maybe you don't order appetizers and stuff, or you're not a big drinker. So I asked Lizzie Post this question. And Lizzie Post is the great-great-granddaughter of manners maven Emily Post. Perhaps you've heard of her. And she revealed a really polite way to stick within your spending habits, spending and eating and drinking limits without coming across like a total killjoy. She said the best way to handle it is to head off the whole thing immediately. So, for example, before you order, the waiter has come, say something like, hey guys, tonight I really just feel like getting a salad. Can we do separate checks? It's going to be easier on the waitress. So you've preempted the conflict. Now, let's say the check comes and it looks like everybody's going to split the tab, and you've seen this. Suddenly all the credit cards go to
Everyone
the middle of the table. Everyone
throws their credit card at someone, and
Yeah. So at that point, you need to say, hey guys, you know what? I only ordered a salad, so here's what'll cover my meal and tax and tip. I find cash is a great way to...
Oh, I know all about you in cash, Dayana.
I'm a big cash spender. But yeah, it's a way to do that. It's a way to cover the bill precisely. Make sure you have some ones and stuff. But yeah, with a lot of people paying with plastic, this you can remember, put in your fair share, include tax and tip in there. So that if the bill is getting split evenly across plastic. And of course, one of the answers, if you're tired of, maybe you can't afford to go to these lavish places that people are recommending, suggest someplace different or a different activity, or maybe learn how to cook. I have not taken that advice myself. I'm always, come over for cocktails.
Well, in Audrey's case, come over for salad and tap water.
And tap water. So the point is, address the issue before it becomes that uncomfortable moment when the check comes.
I was thinking, my wife and I were talking about this earlier today, and we did have an experience. She had an experience of where someone didn't handle it so gracefully. It came off more as like anger that this person obviously didn't order as much, and everyone wants to split the bill equally, because you're essentially saying to that person, we want you to pay more than your fair share. So she did not handle it so well. So there's got to be a graceful way to do it.
Wait, what did she do?
She got
flip the table over.
That's right. She started throwing the knives.
Yeah.
And then another one we thought of too is you say you're going to leave soon, or like, I want to take care of this now.
Bye.
And you put your money on the table and say, this will cover my bill, as opposed to you preempt it before it gets there. But even before the waitress comes, you put it out there. If you haven't done it before the food was even ordered and served.
Right.
I have another idea.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Okay.
Yes. Why don't we pretend that you're at dinner with friends? And so you say to your friends, hey guys, I only ordered a salad and water. Is it okay if I only put in X amount? My guess is most people will say, sure, great. And instead of everyone putting in $10, everyone else just put in $11, and you just move on. And I think you can kind of take the approach that if you are with people that the reason of splitting the checks is because there's an assumption, because people aren't thinking that there is someone who paid a lot less. If you just bring that to their attention, I think a lot of times the whole idea of splitting it equally is mainly because people don't want to take the time to figure out the difference. So they'll just add on another buck. Nobody cares. It's just somebody just has to tell them to care, and then they'll just do it.
Yeah.
Right. So maybe it's also a good way to test your friendship. Yeah. If you bring up that you just had salad and water, and if your friends are like, tough, we're splitting the bill down the middle, maybe you need new friends.
Yes, I would agree with
Great.
that.
So now we've made what is pretty straightforward situation into big opportunity to evaluate your life and the people who surround you.
That's what dinner's.
And add the therapy costs to that.
Yeah, you're
hey
welcome.
guys, do you want to split the therapy costs? Here we discussed you 15% of the time.
Can we send her a bill?
So if you have an awkward money situation, you better call Dayana. You can email us at answers@fool.com. All right, now it's time for the main event, and we have with us Ollen Douglass. He is CFO of the Motley Fool. Ollen, how long have you been CFO of the Motley Fool?
I have been the CFO of the Motley Fool for about 11 years, and I've been here for about 14 years.
Where were you before here? Just curious.
Before there, I was at a mortgage company. Gosh, I can barely remember now. Wow. First Nationwide Mortgage.
Once you come to the Motley Fool, why bother remembering any previous jobs?
Exactly.
It's such a magical place. So then, Ollen, what makes you such a great negotiator? Where did you learn this skill?
I think it was largely kind of on-the-job training to some degree, and I think particularly what we've done at the Motley Fool is really trying to find a way to negotiate that's very much aligned with our core values of collaboration and honesty, and really having a commitment to finding win-win outcomes. And I think all of that led us to a negotiating style that we think works very well and fits in with our core values.
And that applies to when I'm dealing with the devil, aka Comcast?
It absolutely does. It absolutely does.
So before we get into actual tactics of negotiating, can I maybe set the table a little bit? We're talking about your cable bill, your insurance. Like, what else is negotiable out there?
I think there are lots of things out there. I mean, like I said, again, your cable bill, your insurance, other things that come into to mind. Your car, to some degree. You could do this with automobiles. It's a little bit different steps, but there are things you can do there. Anything where you're talking to someone that is selling something that you can get from multiple providers is an opportunity to negotiate.
Even stuff I have read that where people do it with just regular old retail stores, and I've tried it a few times, and I only had success once, but it worked. It was a smaller store, and we were going to buy a bunch of tablecloths for our wedding, and we just said, if we buy all of these, can we get a deal? And we got it. Mm-hmm. You got to talk to the manager, obviously.
Right. I think the key there with some of the places you don't expect is to talk to the manager, and if you do that, I mean, there's certainly opportunities there.
Right. Mm-hmm. I'm particularly interested in this topic right now since my cable bill just went up. Mm-hmm. I think like the special promotional period ended. So this is a question that kind of relates specifically to that, but also any other thing, any other negotiation you might encounter. What should I do before I even pick up the phone and talk with, as Alison said, the devil?
Well, before you go dancing with the devil.
I feel bad because I'm sure the people who actually work at Comcast are working and they're doing their job.
But remember, that was Alison's. That's Alison's voice saying.
You're going to go home and your cable's just not going to work. And I wonder why.
and I will say, and this is going to be quite controversial, but my last experience with Comcast was actually very, very good. I was very happy with the person that came. Who came timely. He did good work. He was polite. He gave me some suggestions on how to save some money on some things I was considering doing. And so it was a surprisingly good experience.
And you got a good deal. So
and I got a good deal.
What did you do before you even picked up the phone?
I think for any negotiation, I think most of the hard work comes, as you said, before you pick up the phone or before you talk to the person. And it's really in understanding your situation. First of all, is a mindset kind of thing, is that remember most negotiations are about solving problems. And it's rare that you're trying to solve a problem where both sides want the exact thing. In a standpoint of Comcast, for example, you want to lower your bill, they want to keep a customer. Those are not mutually exclusive. And when you start to think about it that way, it kind of highlights where you can kind of come together to make things a little bit better for both. It's possible for both of you to win in that situation. So
in other words, don't go in saying, I'm going to win. I'm going to pummel them into giving me totally cheap service. That's a bad attitude.
And it's a really bad attitude, and it's not going to work. And one of the things to keep in mind with all of these things, particularly you're calling Comcast, you call them maybe once every few years, once a year if you're really aggressive about it. The person on the other end of the phone is dealing with hundreds of calls a day. If I were to come to you and say, hey, I want you to go into a battle. I know that you do this once a year. I want you to fight against someone that does it 100 times a day. Would you say, okay, I'm going to go in there and knock this person out?
I'm going to go find a cell service.
It's not going to work. I mean, the average person trying to win on their terms is just not going to win. But there is something that you can do in that scenario, which is that understand that you both want the same thing. This person is being paid to retain customers. You want to be retained as a customer, and so that's an opportunity for both of you to work towards that common goal.
And I bet with all those 100 calls during the day, they deal with a lot of angry people.
Yes.
So for them to have someone polite, I'm sure is just a relief to them.
It is. That's one of the subtle negotiation tactics I do sometimes is I'll call and I'll say hello, and I'll listen to their response. And if they seem a little tense, I'll just say, can we just take a second to just relax?
You have a little moment of zen.
Yeah, a little moment of zen. It's
okay.
like I know your job. I have customer service people where I work, and it's crazy. So I know we had to get work done, and you're probably on the clock and stuff. But if we can just kind of take a second,
turn on some Enya. Let's maybe light a candle.
Feel me massaging you from across the phone
with my voice.
Yeah, so I usually get a laugh. Well, I can hear someone smiling, and that kind of changes the mood. I just want them to know up front, this is not going to be a battle. And if you've done something wrong, that's a very good thing to do. Is to start the call where I'm having problems with my cable. I'm pretty sure it's my fault. I just need help because I'm having problems with my cable and it's your fault. That's a tough way to start a conversation.
Yeah.
So obviously I should go around and find out what other deals are being offered, but it's hard when it's not apples to apples. It's like this one's for new customers over here, or for us around this neighborhood, we only have one internet provider that we can use unless we want to do the dial-up thing again.
Yeah. So that's it's very helpful to do your homework. But if you can't, you can still go in and approach it. Use what you have. If you can say to them, "Hi, I'm a long-term customer Comcast. I want to keep the service." If you're comfortable saying that, I just need to reduce my bills. Can you help me? Mm-hmm. So they're the ones that have all the information. Sometimes you just need to ask them for what they have. And again, you're putting them in the position where they want to be, which is how to retain you as a customer. So don't do your research. Say, I'm here. What can you do to lower my bill? Mm-hmm. And ask them. And often they will be very happy to help you. That's a great call to have as opposed to, you devil.
I'm canceling unless you can lop off $50.
Yes, and I will tell you, most of the time, you should never threaten to do something that you're not willing to do. Because again, you're going up against pros, and if you call and say, I'm going to cancel unless you do something, chances are they're just going to say, okay, cancel.
Yeah.
and then it's done. And they're not going to try to save you. It's just not going to work. Too many people try that bluff for that to work anymore.
Yeah. So what do you do if they won't budge?
Well, there's a couple things to think about. First of all, don't be afraid of no. No is just another piece of information that you can use. And it may be that no is the right answer for both of you. If you really are at your wit's end and they can't make it better for you, maybe it is time to change providers. So no may be the best thing for both people. If you think that you could have done better, if you had another chance to do this.
Well, I want another take. Yeah, right. A do-over. I love do-over.
You want a Comcast mulligan?
Yeah.
Well, hang up and call again.
Don't even say goodbye.
Well, I would say goodbye, but the chances of you getting the same customer service rep right away are almost zero.
It's going to be super embarrassing, though, if it happens.
Yeah.
Hey, remember me?
Yeah. Or if you want to, if that weird thing happens and because it's already weird, just say, hey, can I speak to someone else?
Yeah. What about that?
This got weird. I know you were cool with the Enya and the candles, but things just got weird when you told me no.
It's not me, it's you.
Is it so? What about the "can I speak to your manager" thing? That sounds so aggressive. I hate confrontation, by the way.
Well, I was going to bring this up. So I don't know if this is particularly a woman trait, but I am totally comfortable going to a Mexican flea market and bargaining with someone in a stall because I feel it's accepted and I'm in another country and whatever. But the idea of negotiating scares me. They might not like me. For some reason, I'm motivated by the idea that this person might not like me and that they'll say no. It's scary.
It is scary, and that's why I think a lot of the negotiating steps we do are about removing the fear and removing the conflict. And that's something to kind of keep in mind. You want to remove conflict, move towards kind of common goals. So ask questions, listen to what they're saying. Try to visually almost put yourself on the same side of the table. Here's my problem. How can you help me? What are my choices? What are my options? So then all of a sudden, it's not a question of yes or no. It's a choice of option A, B, or C. And I think that if you've reached the right department, if you're Comcast, you talk to the cancellation department, their goal is to retain you. They will always have options for you, but they're going to ask you questions. Are you willing? I can give you a better rate if you extend your contract with the company. Are you willing to do a bundle? We have a really nice special on a bundle, which may get you a little bit of a lower rate. That's something that I did when I called them, ended up getting a bundle. Do you really love that HBO? Because there's something we may do that be cheaper, but may not have everything that you need. So,
right.
The answer is yes. By the way, until Game of Thrones is over this season, yes.
It was funny. I binge watched The Wire, the Newsroom, and a couple of other things, and I'm like, okay, maybe I can let go now.
Maybe not.
Maybe I need to read more, is what it comes down to.
But knowing what you want and what you like is a way to just giving the customer service rep more information so that they can then offer you a deal that works best for you and for them.
You said something interesting. You said to call the cancellation department. Now, even if don't quote me, Comcast, even if I don't intend to cancel, is that still the right move?
Yes, that's still the right move. What you want to do is get to the people who are being incentivized to retain the customers. And so,
and this can go with that. I said Comcast, but it's any company.
Right. Just say, do you have a cancellation department, or who can I talk to about my service? And that will take you to the right group of people who have not only the incentives, even if they don't have the incentives, they're going to have the tools and information to get you in the right deal for you.
Okay.
And that is not asking for the cancellation department is not a threat to cancel. It's just direct me to the people who are best positioned to help us achieve our mutual goals.
To move a little bit away from the cable company situation, I mean, there are a lot of things that the services you get that are regular, like the lawn service, or a one-time deal, fixing your car or something like that. I had a guy who actually just stopped by my house, saw that I had a dent in my car, and said, I can fix that. And he gave me a price, and then he said it would take a few hours, and it'll cost you this. And I figured out that he basically is charging $200 an hour. And then I said to him, I'm interested in what you're offering, but that's a pretty high rate. To me, $50 an hour is a reasonable rate for what you say you're going to do. And he said, okay, yeah, you're right.
He went from $200 an hour to $50 an hour?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, you think
Robert, will you call my cable company?
But it is sort of deciding, okay, what's fair to pay the person, and then explain why, I'll appreciate your service, but this is what I think is a reasonable price.
Yeah. And I think that's a great point. I think a lot of the negotiation tactics that I use are ultimately designed to get something that's fair. If you want to call Comcast and get cable for free forever, I don't really have a lot of pointers on how to do that. I think you're doing something different than I can add value to. But I wish you luck.
Yeah.
Thank you. So on the point of, Robert, negotiating other things, do you have any other tips we've mostly focused on cable, but do you have any other advice on negotiating for other services? Things to remember?
Yeah, like if you're going for your insurance, and these tend to be much less potentially confrontational. Call your insurance company up, ask for a policy review, ask them, are there ways that I can lower my monthly insurance? And they will work with you. It's very much a very collaborative kind of process. Hey, can you afford a higher deductible? Can you do this? Do you need this amount of coverage? Do you have other insurance that may take care of some of this? They can do lots of things to help you lower your bill, and they're happy to do that, and it's a very good thing to do. Similar to the credit cards. Sometimes you can call your credit cards and they say, hey, my interest rate's a little higher. Is there any way I can get a lower rate? Sometimes they'll just lower your rate. Sometimes they may ask you about other credit card balances and say, hey, yes, I can lower your rate. If you transfer balances from another card that you have over to this one, we help you consolidate, lower your overall bills. There are lots of things that people can do to help you. I think the common theme is calling these people up, getting the right person, and actually just asking for help. Mm-hmm. One of the things I wouldn't do is call up with the sob story. It doesn't go over as well. I mean, the fact that it's Christmas Eve and you haven't paid your bills, and you call up and say, well, it's Christmas Eve, I can't pay my bills. The pro is going to say to you, well, on my calendar, I knew it was Christmas a year ago. Yep. Christmas is the same time every year. How come you didn't know this was coming? Mm-hmm. And so a lot of these things kind of break down, and the sob stories ultimately just take up a lot of time. If you want to help this person out, be nice and be quick, because there's lots of calls. And so be polite and get to the point.
This process actually can start with something you should do regularly with a lot of your bills, and that is comparison shop. Mm-hmm. Your insurance and other things like that. You just, okay, I'm going to look at 5 providers. What are they offering? And that gives you information to use if you feel like you want to negotiate and say, listen, I can go to this insurance company and pay this or get this service. What can you do to meet me in the middle?
And with some of these products, insurance, credit cards in particular, how good of a customer you've been comes into play. Mm-hmm. They are not going to lower your interest rate if you have been late paying bills, or if you're continually go over your credit limit. Same thing with insurance. They might look for ways to lower your rate, but they're going to be looking at how many claims have you filed over the years. And
and another thing I'll do very quick that will help in another category. If you're thinking about trading in your car, going for a new car, there's a whole different set of steps for like buying a car, but just to trade in, go online, go to Edmunds.com, get an estimate of the trade-in value of your car. Take that to the dealer. And so when you go to buy a new car and say, hey, look, when it comes time to trade it in, I'm saying, this is what this car seems like it's worth. And start from there instead of leaving it to the dealer to decide how much they're willing to pay for your car. Let them know that you've done a little bit of research to let you know. You could take that one step further and go to CarMax. They will give you an estimate on what to buy your car with, and they will buy that car from you from that price. And so you can take that to your dealer and say, look, either match this, or I'm just going to take it to CarMax and sell it to them. So a couple little tips there.
All right, so to recap, do your research. Remember that you are all, both you and the company, whether it's the devil or not, are working towards a common goal. Don't be afraid of no. Make sure you're talking to the right person, and just ask for help. And maybe get the NUCD queued up just in case. So before we go, Ollen, what's your best piece of advice for someone who's ready to go negotiate some of their bills?
I think the best piece of negotiation I would give is to know your walk away. And when in a negotiation, know what it is. What's the point when you would rather not have what you're asking for than what you're doing? And then keep that in mind. Set that before you start to talk. Also, once it's settled, forget about it. You're trying to get a better deal. Whether you get the best deal in the world or not is probably not going to be that meaningful in the long run. You're trying to improve your life, not make it perfect with everything you do. So do the best you can. Forget about it until the next time.
All right. Wonderful. Ollen, thank you for joining us today. And Dayana's going to go negotiate with Comcast and then come back and tell us how it went, huh?
I will. This is all great advice. Thank you, Ollen.
You're welcome.
This has been Motley Fool Answers. I want to thank Ollen again for joining us today. It's been wonderful to have you.
It's been great being here. You guys do this all the time?
We do this, once a week.
Oh, okay.
Let's have you back.
All right.
Let's have you back next week. Huh?
Excellent.
All right. Our email is answers@fool.com. Tell your friends about the show. It's edited by Rick Engdahl. The theme music is composed and performed by Dayana Yochim. For Robert Brokamp, Dayana Yochim, and Ollen Douglass, I'm Alison Southwick. Fool on.